Welcome to another 30-minute workshop presented by the Student Success Center at Eastern Illinois University. In this session, we will walk the basics of effective goal setting. By the end of this presentation, you will have some concrete steps that you can begin taking today to help you live the life you've only dreamed of before now. Before we begin, there are a few materials that you will need as you follow along. First of all, make sure you have a pen or pencil and a blank sheet of paper. Next, you'll want to visit the Student Success Center website to download the 4 handouts we'll be using in this session. Pause the podcast, give the materials you need, and then rejoin me. Welcome back. Now let's get down to business. First, we will cover the characteristics of an effective goal. Next, we will discuss the idea that goals are dreams with deadlines and how to build framework for your goals within a flexible time frame. Finally, we will look at some strategies to help us stay on track with the goals we've set and ways to get around any obstacles that may come up and keep us from reaching our goal. So, what does your future look like? Take a couple of minutes and dream about your ideal lifestyle in 5, 10, or 25 years. Think about the following questions. Where will you live? In the Midwest? On the East Coast? In the city? Where will you be working? How much money will you make? Will you have a spouse or any children? Will you be involved in any community activities? Where will you be vacationing? At this point, don't put any constraints on yourself. Just think about the life that you want. If you need more time, pause the podcast and jump back in when you're ready. Before we talk about how to make your dreams reality, let's look at the fundamental characteristics of an effective goal. This is important because if a goal is not effective, the chance that it will come to pass is pretty slim. Goals must be specific. For example, instead of saying, "You want good grades," say, "You will achieve a 3.5 semester GPA at the end of the fall semester." That goal is very specific. Make sure your goals are as specific as possible. Goals must be measurable. Take the last example for instance. At the end of the fall semester, you will know whether you have achieved a 3.5 GPA or not. If your goal is simply to get good grades, how will you know when you've achieved it? Will it be when you get a 2.0 in 1 year? Will it be when you graduate? You must make your goals measurable so you know what you are working to achieve, and you know when you have achieved it. Goals must be action-oriented. When achieving goals, you must be proactive instead of inactive by simply waiting for something to happen. Goals must be realistic. Perhaps your dream is to become the President of the United States. Your goal cannot be to be the President of the United States. Your goals must be steps to achieve your dream. So, your goal should be something realistic, saying, you will get a bachelor's degree in political science, which is a realistic step toward your dream of becoming president. Goals must be timely. You must put a date for the time you plan to achieve your goal. If you do not date your goals, you will have no motivation to achieve them, and you will never know when you have achieved them. Goals must be challenging. For you to be motivated towards your goal, it must be challenging for you. As I said before, the goal should be realistic, but it must be challenging as well for you to be proactive and motivated, and for you to continuously work to move ahead in your life. If your goal is to achieve a 2.0 GPA, you are allowing yourself to do average work. However, if your goal is to achieve a 3.5 GPA, you are challenging yourself to work harder and possibly do your best work as a student. Finally, your goals must be written. This is very important. You should write down your goals and keep them in a place where it is easy to access them often. If you do not write down your goals, you will forget them or alter them. If you want to take your goals seriously, you must write them down, stick with them, and proactively work toward them. Achieving each goal is like building a pyramid. You want to start by building a strong foundation of short-term goals. These are the daily and weekly habits we do consistently. After some time, these short-term goals will propel us to the mid-range goals we've established for ourselves. You can think of the time frame for these mid-range goals anywhere from 1 to 5 years into the future. Again, after some time has passed, these mid-range goals become the stepping stones to help us achieve our long-term goals. Now, using the last page of the SMART C Goal Setting Worksheet, start mapping out your own long-term, mid-range, and short-term goals. Take a look at the sheet you used to dream and translate them into long-term goals. On the sheet, you'll see 4 different categories of goals: personal, academic, social, and professional. Don't get too hung up on these categories. Just get some goals written that are specific, measurable, action-oriented, realistic, timely, and challenging. If you need more time, pause the podcast and rejoin me. Each short-term or mid-range goal you reach will build toward the next long-term goal you plan to achieve. For instance, reaching the goal of earning your bachelor's degree with a 3.5 GPA will lead you to your next mid-range goals of obtaining your first job, where you will be possibly working at a mid-sized accounting firm in the Chicagoland area, making $40,000 per year. Once you have worked at this job for a few years, your salary may raise, which leads you closer to obtaining financial independence. This will then lead you to another goal of purchasing your dream house and perhaps allowing for other activities like community service or charity work. As you begin your journey to success, keep in mind that each goal has a purpose and will lead you to your next goal. As you set your goals, make several mid-range goals to achieve during each year. These goals may include applying for financial aid, which will give you the opportunity to register for classes. Once you have your schedule, you can have perfect attendance in every class and study for at least 5 hours a day. You will then pass all of your classes with an A or B average, which will lead to obtaining a high GPA, and then take summer classes. As you can see, goals are like steps. Each goal leads to your next goal. Sometimes, sticking with your goals can be difficult. Here are some helpful tips to stay on track with school-related mid-range goals. Find a partner or form a small study group. When you surround yourself with people who have goals similar to yours, like achieving a high grade in a specific course, it will be easier to motivate each other. If you have questions, ask them. Visit your professor during their office hours. These hours are specifically set aside to assist students with any help they need. So, if you have a question, ask it immediately. If you feel you need to improve study skills or other skills like time management, take a study skills class or visit the Student Success Center to improve these skills. Keep up with your assignments in each class. If you begin to procrastinate, things will start building up and become overwhelming. Stay on top of these tasks, and you will stay motivated to keep up with assignments and responsibilities in class. If you find that you are struggling with exams, or even if you simply miss a few questions on a quiz, meet with your professor to discuss your mistakes. Learning from your mistakes is one of the best ways to master information. Now that you've got some long-term goals set, let's work backwards. What are some things you can start doing this week to build a stronger foundation that will help you reach your long-term goals? If you're stuck, see the next slide for some ideas.